Hello, my friends at SeemsGoodMagic.com. This is Travis Sowers, aka Simulin, and we're jumping into an Eternal Masters Phantom Swiss draft. I've done, I think, about 7 Eternal Masters drafts now on stream, which, in the spirit of shameless self-promotion, you can find at twitch.tv/Simulin. Maybe 6 or so of these Phantom ones, and 1 8-4. I decided to do a Swiss draft for the video this week because it lets you see all 3 games with the decks. So you don't get like mana screwed out around 1 or whatever and then wonder, was the deck any good? And also, because there's really not as many money cards as you can open up in online versus paper. So the packs cost the same amount regardless of whether you're doing it in paper or online, although I guess there's no price gouging online, but that's a whole different conversation. But there's only 2 cards you can open, Force of Will and Wasteland, that are worth more than the cost of entry to the draft. So like if you're going to play the lottery, basically what you're looking for is to pick up a lot of $2 and $3 cards. And I'd really rather not worry about that and just kind of do a draft, play some games, and get to showcase the format. So that's what we're going to do here today. Alright, what have we got? Well. We've got, I mean, basically because I have played with the format some, I can say this pack comes down to cards that are Glare of Subdual and cards that are not Glare of Subdual. There's kind of a format defining card, and that is Rally the Peasants. It's way better here than it was in Innistrad block because you get 3 packs of it instead of 1. So you can kind of count on getting 1. If I was going to take a single color card, it might be the Beetleback Chief. This guy's great in the tokens deck. Dutch, knock it off with that box. I'm not going to first pick a Deep Analysis. Timberwatch Elf is really good. Oh. It's too early to take Squadron Hawk, but they're good too. I mean, Glare of Subdual is just the most powerful card here. So we'll take it. You can splash either side of it. It's pretty easy to get dual lands, so I'm happy about that. There's a lot of formats where I would just slam first pick a Gravedigger and be like, we got there, but that is not this format. I have not found Blue-Black to be amazing, but I found Glare of Subdual to be a pretty damn good rare. Again, it doesn't mean we have to be green-white. It just means we can be green-white. Yeah, I see it, Dutch. I see it. So that there's some conversation pieces here, too. This Call of the Skybreaker is the alternate kill condition in the Burning Vengeance deck, and that is easily the most fun deck in the format. I drafted that once on stream and it was so much fun. So much fun. If we're gonna first pick a green-white card, there's some argument that the Coalition Honor Guard may even be better than the Armadillo Cloak. This is kind of impossible to beat if you can stick it. There's Silent Departure and Mana War at common that mean you're going to have a hard time doing that. It's one of these high variance cards where if your opponent can deal with it, they got you. If they can't, you're probably running away with the game. But again, if I'm going to start with Glare of Subdual and then get past an Armadillo Cloak, I think I have to take it. There's some decks that just can't handle it, and if you're careful about when you resolve it, you can usually get there. But there's some argument for that Coalition Honor Guard, and even for the Llanowar Elf. Like, I could get behind somebody saying that they wanted to play those instead. Now here we may be moving into a different situation because the best card here by a mile is the Firebolt. I should say the best card by itself. Lysolana Scarblade can be a pretty big deal if you're able to combo it with some other stuff. But like Firebolt is just miles above everything else. And I don't mind playing green-red or white-red and splashing for Glare as a finisher. Like you can just go wide and get enough stuff on the board and then tap their stuff down, get in for lethal, play Rally the Peasants. I mean 2 picks in, it's not time to say we're green-white. That's just not a good draft strategy. If I was 100% in on that, we'd probably take the cohort here, but I'm going to take a Firebolt. It's just good. Well, hello there. Travis, were you saying that Burning Vengeance was the most fun deck in the format? I know it would be really surprising to see me go on SeemsGoodMagic.com and draft blue-red. You guys are totally not used to that in these videos. Basically what we've got here is 2 cards for 2 very different decks. With Firebolt bridging the gap, I could see playing all 3 of these. This is the first pick where we ain't playing all 3 of these, or all 4 of these. If I pick this, it's either going in a deck with Firebolt and we're trashing these, or we're just trashing the Burning Vengeance. The fact that I'm seeing it here means there may be a real opportunity for us to do this. So I'm gonna take it, and we're gonna see where this goes. Basically, you're looking for any card draw, any mana fixing. There's lots of places you could go here. This pack kind of sticks us again in that middle ground where we did have a Squadron Hawk in the first pack. This one's relatively late. We could take it here. We've also got 2 great enchantments to go with the Yavimaya Enchantress. Considering the only card that would go in the Burning Vengeance deck is Swiftwater Cliffs, I don't think I want to be doing that. Michael on stream got me into the Mindless Automaton. Like, it's a 4-mana 2/2, but you can build it, you can get your card back. It's not a bad card. I think I'm actually going to take the Enchantress here. If this comes together, we'll do this. If this comes together, we'll do this. But we're still kind of in the middle of everything. Let's figure this all out. So in a green-ish control deck, I don't hate Second Thoughts. There's also Una's Grace if we want to try to go into the Burning Vengeance thing. And it's just frustrating to be hovering between these 2 very different decks. Yeah, I'll give it one more pack before we decide. Because again, Firebolt can be our gap bridger. Again, we've got pieces for each of these decks. But I think Squadron Hawk goes mainly in the Go Wide deck, and that's not what the Enchantress deck does. I'm going to see if we can pull this off. And it looks like maybe we can, although tokens may have been open too, because that's a late War Marshal, but somebody took the make 5/5s card, which is not great, but okay. Alright, we did wheel a Desperate Ravings. So if we can find another Burning Vengeance, we've got all the Una's Graces we want. I think I'm going for this. Well, I'm certainly going for this now. But it's a question about whether or not I should be. The deck actually has a pretty hard time winning if you can't get the Burning Vengeance in play, and what it really needs is a bunch of Faithless Lootings. Having not seen any of those, I get a little nervous. It can also use something like this as a late game, like just derp finisher and mana fixer. I actually don't necessarily want 3 Una's Graces either, so I should put one of those over here and not forget that we have this, but I've kind of got 8 cards that go in one specific deck, and if that deck's open, we could end up with something really cool to showcase here. And again, playing blue-red is kind of out of my comfort zone, but I'm willing to do it for you guys. I don't always play blue-red. It's kind of a joke in that I think this would be the 4th blue-red draft I've done for Seems Good. But I was perfectly willing to do some things. We just didn't go there. So look, Cleansing. Skulking Ghost is really terrible in this format. There's a lot of creatures that just randomly target stuff. And that's just no bueno. I think this is supposed to be the red Rancor. It's just not. Dutch is happily being a loud cat. Playing in his boxes. It's actually the first Animate Dead I've seen. Screeching Scab is okay in this deck, because you're likely to pick up some Threshold cards and have some Flashback cards, but I'm just going to take another Firebolt. It's great. Again, we need to see another Burning Vengeance or one of those make 5/5 cards. Or just a big dumb dragon. But we're pretty good, assuming we hit one of those. There's a Sarah Angel. That is a beating. I think it probably just needs to be carbonized for us. I like Wildfire Emissary too. That is a place to dump excess mana, but carbonized just kills things. It's basically Incinerate, so I kind of don't understand why we have a 3 mana Incinerate. I mean, it's cool. I guess Incinerate didn't exile things, it just said it can't be regenerated. So, I mean, that's neat. It prevents people from animating really little things unless you combo it with something else. But these decks can finish people off with burn too, and Silent Departure is just annoying. It buys you a lot of time. But essentially what we're looking for, which I've said I think 500 times, but I'm going to keep saying it because I'm nervous that we won't find it, is another Burning Vengeance or that Retrace spell. This is the first Flint Hoof Boar I've ever seen in doing like 7 of these drafts. I really like this card. I really like green-red in this format too. Like, Curd Apes are just absurd. So we've got something like Manowar, which is okay at buying time. We've got Counterspell, which is just good at disruption. That's better with Instance. We've got some Instance. The double blue makes it a little worse, and it also doesn't handle things once they have resolved. So like I kind of like that better in a Flyers deck where you derp a lot of things on the board, and then you're going to use this to like protect them. We could start looking at fixing and stuff like that, or maybe take a Warden of Evos Isle as an alternate kill condition in case all of this kind of cycle through air stuff doesn't work. But I think the Manowar goes the best in all of those versions. Like, if we end up having to go to a creature-based aggro deck, Manowar's fine. And Phantom Monster is just great. Like, here's a creature I'll put in my spells deck. Like, right now we've got 4, 5, 6, 7 cards that work with Burning Vengeance. That's enough. You can just dump a couple flyers in the deck and be happy. I would like Swiftwater Cliffs, and I really like Raise the Alarms. But again, we haven't seen any Rally the Schmucks or whatever it is. Speaking of which, this is the card, Rally the Peasants. I built a blue-green Threshold deck that was really good. These Werebears are the real deal. And Shardless Agent's the real deal. I think we probably need the Flame Jab. The fact that we can retrace it is kind of a big deal. I, again, would like tap lands, but we can find those later. And one thing I found is that this format is just chock full of X1s that you need to kill. Like, there's 2 in this pack that we'd be happy to slaughter with it. These Hodens are cool too. But we're pretty far away from doing that. Sting Scourger is not terrible. Limmerpoint Stag is a pretty dang good card. Again, could see a world in which we're happy to play a Phantom Monster and hold up a counterspell. I just think we're pretty far away from that. It's basically, do I want the mana fixing or do I want the Sting Scourger? This is basically a sorcery speed boomerang if you need it that may be able to stick around. I think I'm happy with just buying some time. I usually like this in more aggressive decks where your plan can be bounce a blocker, get in there. But that's just kind of not what we're doing. Wonder's pretty terrible with what we're doing. Like, we're barely playing any creatures, and the ones we're playing already have flying. So I think we're pretty far off from wanting that. Giant Tortoise is, again, a good blocker and time buyer. So I think I'll go with that. Classic 1/4. Price of Progress. Peregrine Drake can be okay, as you can cast it and then dirtle through something else. I've also found Mog Fanatic to be really good. In the subscriber video I did, these were like crucial out of the sideboard. I think I'd have definitely lost a match without these guys. I'm actually going to take the Drake, as it doesn't look like we're going to get to the second Burning Vengeance or Retrace card. So I'm going to be pretty happy to have that. And I've mentioned I wouldn't mind a Scab with all of this stuff, but I think I'm just going to make my mana a little better here. Same here. Like, it's not super common to splash, but if I get like a Bloodbraid Elf, I'm going to splash it. So It can't hurt to have that option. I think we're pretty far off from wanting that. Like, this would be good if we've got enough time, so I'm actually going to take the tome and side it in if we play against another control deck. I don't think it's a main deck card for us currently, but I could see bringing this in. Yeah, these cards are coming by pretty late. I guess if we just stuck to the green-white thing, we might have had more of an advantage. I'm just going to hack a werebear here. There's no reason that should still be there, and I'm not playing a Cephid Sage. I've already got one, and it's over here. It's interesting how that lined up. I think what we did was pass enough good blue-red cards to get our neighbor to our left into it. Which kind of hosed us that pack, but it ideally would be open this way. And this is not a bad fail case for a Burning Vengeance deck. It just got exponentially better with a Merfolk Looter. That's easily the best card here. I think we're super happy to have it. And like a Deep Analysis or two or a Faithless Looting, and all of a sudden we're in business. God forbid we get past another Burning Vengeance. Natural Order is kind of funny. There's not really anything to get with it. Like, it's cool that it's in the set, but I'm not sure what you're supposed to do with it in Darft. This is the kind of card that you're happy to have some counter spells in your deck with, because you can cast it and then do that. If only there was like some payoff for being in blue-red besides Burning Vengeance that we could find here that could even maybe let us cycle through our deck and get flashback cards in the graveyard. I can see Ingester being good, as it just kills a lot of things. Ticking Gnomes is a pretty good sideboard card. We're pretty far off from wanting Fervent Cathar. Or we could just take the Greatest Thief in the Multiverse. I think I'll go with that. So we correctly read that at least one of our neighbors is not in blue-red. Cool. Let's see if we can get some more stuff. I really want a Faithless Looting, but just playing against a good version of this deck, Glacial Wall has been absurd. Alright, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards that flashback, but none of them are draw cards. That's the challenge. Is we really need like a Deep Analysis, Faithless Looting. Those are kind of the cards, and then lots of Desperate Ravings to keep this going. Because this is a really tough pick. I want both of these cards in the deck. I think I'm going to go with the first Glacial Wall. If this is open, I should see another Faithless Looting. If it's not, this is still better in the flyer-style shenanigans we're going for here. I'm pretty happy with another Carbonize. Like, you can't get too many of those. I do actually like a Gaseous Form in the sideboard. If they get, like, there's a 6/4 Regenerator or something like that, this is a great answer to it. If you don't care about attacking on the ground, which this deck doesn't. But I'm happy with another Carbonize. Like, the deck's almost done. It's almost good enough. Do I want a counterspell or another Silent Departure? Because without card draw, this is a lot of air. Like, you're just bouncing their crap and not doing anything. So I'm going to take the first counterspell. I'm sitting here with Ravings, double Una's Grace. Like, I want one more flashback spell to round out the deck, but I really want it to be a Deep Analysis. And I probably should have prioritized them sooner because we're not getting them. But I'd like to have one counterspell in the deck at this point, the way we're shaping up. And I guess if the last card for the deck is this Drake, we can have a playable deck. And I can get better from here. That may actually be getting it better. So we could get... actually, you know, our deck is focusing a good bit on Retrace. So we've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Am I missing one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 flashback cards. Because the other enablers are all retracers. That is bizarre. I'm still going to take it, but I don't think we actually have enough to play it. Maximum punishment. And then I get that Glacial Wall, and I'd really like to have the Faithless Looting. I'm going to take it. It's a pretty big upgrade over one of these Tortoises, but I'd really rather have one Glacial Wall and one Faithless Looting. I think there were 2 people in this deck, and we just got a little bit in trouble. Hardest card for us to beat here is probably the Emperor Crocodile. I'm not interested in a Reckless Charge. This card's surprisingly good. Hodor. Like, I get that we could have had the nuts white-green enchant deck. I feel like this was close to open. Like, you don't get a second pick Planeswalker very often. So I identified what a couple of our neighbors weren't doing, but I don't really think I did a great job at identifying what was open at the table. Because this card is bonkers with Glare of Subdual, but meh. Actually, I guess I should take a Stupefying Touch for the board. You don't use that often, but what? All right, business time. Woohoo. Get out of here, Sting Scourger. Best card here against us is probably the Milliken for the Threshold deck. That is difficult for us to deal with, so I don't want to play against it. That is difficult for us to deal with, so I don't want to play against it. And a Tidal Wave, which is fine. This is not that far off from a neck snap. So best version of the Burning Vengeance deck ever? Probably not. But it's got a couple different angles to attack from. It can finish them off with some flyers or some burn. We can steal their artifacts with Dak. He is quite good at stealing things. We can also just basically burn through our deck to find the Burning Vengeance. And if we have to, we can flame jab them to death. I'm not opposed to doing that. But like we've got a couple angles of attack, primarily flyers, mediocre flyers, I'll be honest. Some walls to back them up. And then a lot of derping and a little bit of burn. Okay. I'm comfortable with this. I think if I'd stuck with the green-white, especially seeing those 2 Hodens wheel, because that means I probably, or Honden, however you say it, I probably could have taken one and then gotten the other. And then just had so many combos with this card. But, you know, it seems good magic. I'm here to draft blue-red. Don't pretend you didn't know that's what was happening going into this, because you did. I want to be able to turn one Firebolt and Faithless Looting. This gives me 10-7. I don't think I need to go that heavy mountain, or excuse me, that heavy island just for the counterspell, because I'm kind of looking to hold that up once I can be retracing Una's Graces and like have multiple options with what to do for my mana. Like having Desperate Ravings up, Counterspell up, and Una's Grace in your graveyard is just fantastic. Not to mention island cycling if we really need the other island that much. So I think this will do fine. This is a deck I can get behind playing in Swiss, because to be fair, we're just going to get run over by the aggro deck. But I think we can have a lot of fun in some of the other matchups. So thanks for tuning in, folks. I'll see you for round 1 in just a moment.